2024 in service. I am Dr. Marisela Rodriguez Tijerina, Provost Vice President of Academic Affairs here at Laredo College. It is a pleasure to come together with faculty, staff, administration, and the Board of Trustees to celebrate the beginning of a new year. We all represent the best aspects of who we are as a college. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and gentlemen, kindly remove your hats. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. I would like to first welcome Ms. Lupita Cepeda, Board of Trustees President.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you all can hear me. Happy New Year. I'm happy to be back with all of you. It's exciting to see everyone back after a much-deserved break. I'm excited about all the prospects and opportunities that a new year brings. Laredo College has so much to celebrate, and being here surrounded by what I consider my second family is a blessing I do not take for granted. Although in different capacities, everyone here at the college plays a vital role in making our institution successful. We are a place for everyone, and that is not just a marketing slogan, but a truth that I hope all of us have very present every day. Our diversity of thought and the experiences, expertise, talents, and knowledge each of us brings to the table in our specific areas makes Laredo College the unique place that it is. I would like for us to start this year celebrating everything we have accomplished together over the past 76 years. Although the college has undergone many changes throughout its history, our mission and purpose remains the same. We continue to serve students and our community through our high-quality programs and services. On behalf of the board, I congratulate each of you for your outstanding job in upholding our mission of excellence and service. I want to share one final thought with you to keep in mind as you start your year. For many people, whether a student, a colleague, or a community member, a kind smile, brief conversation, or simply act of kindness can make a difference. Our words and our actions are immensely powerful. Remember this as we strive to continue being role models and proudly represent our beloved college. Let's continue spreading an attitude of gratitude by starting each day with a reminder that we can make a difference in the world through our words and actions. I sincerely thank you all for your hard work and dedication. It does not go unnoticed. Let's have a spectacular year. With that, I'd like to present to you my partners in crime, which is my board members. Without them, we couldn't do what we do for you today. So we have Esteban Rangel with us today. We have Mrs. Tita Vela. And we have Erica Benavides Garcia. Thank you, everyone, and God bless you all.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back. Happy New Year. It's great to see everyone here and all the friendly faces, and maybe not so friendly this morning. We're not used to getting up early anymore, right? Well, we've been gone for a while, but it is wonderful to be back and to welcome the new 2024 year. Just to let you all know that a few things that we're very proud of. Fall 23 was wonderfully successful for all of you and for all of us. And just like we encountered many successes, we also faced some new learning experiences and realized that there are so many more opportunities to explore, learn more about, and adjust to. This spring, I'm asking all of you to recommit and embrace this new year with a new you and a stronger attitude committed to growth, to learning, and excellence in education and leadership. It is without a doubt what we do at Laredo College has gone beyond the concept of promoting and providing access to higher ed. We're now in the next phase of higher education. We're in the phases of affordability, quality, success, technology, and cost efficiencies. With that, I was very fortunate to attend a meeting a while back with some of the trustees, where we were introduced heavily to what artificial intelligence may mean, and I say may because we're not sure, to higher education and to all of you, to our students and our community of learners. Our speaker today was one of the speakers at that session. And at that very moment, Ms. Cepeda and I looked at each other and said, we need to bring him to Laredo. And so we did. We contacted him right away, and he said, absolutely. One of his great charges, and one of the things that he is most definitely working on, is how community colleges are changing not only higher education, but the entire workforce communities in every city, not just urban, but rural cities, large communities and small towns like ours. And so we're very, very fortunate to have Todd McLeese with us today. He is a thought leader in artificial intelligence and the future of work. As the founder of Full Circle Innovation, Todd's frameworks are pivotal in helping organizations across various industries and academic institutions build their AI agility. Todd's influence in the educational sector is particularly notable through his partnerships with institutions like Laredo College as a partner at Innovation Outpost, which is instrumental in fostering regional innovation ecosystems, contributing to the transformation of regional economies and equipping the workforce to thrive in a technology-rich future. As a co-founder and now board member of the London-based Human Skills Project, Todd remains deeply committed to advancing the integration of vital human skills within the fast-paced AI environment. His dedication reflects his vision of harmonizing cutting-edge technology advancements with intrinsic human potential. Todd also serves on an advisory board of the Council for Adult and Experiential Learning and the Higher Educational Regional Alliance. We are most fortunate to be part of his now innovation circle. He doesn't know it yet, but we will be. And we're very excited to welcome our new friend and certainly our guide for what artificial intelligence will bring to Laredo College, to the Laredo community and surrounding area, and to all of us as we grow, as we develop what the future of education will be. Please help me welcome our friend and this morning's speaker, Todd McLeese.
There we go. Good morning, everybody. So pleased and privileged to be here this morning. Thank you all for taking the time. I thought maybe I could set the stage a little bit with regard to the impact of AI as we're seeing it in every industry, certainly in higher education and in workforce development, and then share with you some elements around why I believe and we believe that this is a unique time in history. It's not just another advancement in technology or a simple shift. It is a paradigm shift. This is an inflection point. And as somebody who spends all day, every day in the bubble of artificial intelligence, I can tell you that I cannot keep up, and it can be overwhelming, easily overwhelming. I expect the next 45 minutes or so will be overwhelming for many of you. I'm happy to spend as much time as necessary today to help bring clarity to where the opportunities lie, what the risks are, and the role that Laredo College and community colleges across the country can play in helping businesses usher in this new age of technology. I believe that the next 10 years will bring more change than the previous century. And I want to help you imagine what that means, just to get your arms around it a little bit. So here's a cheat sheet of the 28 technologies and 14 processes that have been paradigm shifters in all of history. These are the 42 innovations that are most significant, most profound in terms of its impact on the world. But technology is never profound. The profundity of technology is really based on the human reaction. So if you think about during your lifetime or your parents' lifetime, the last 100 years or so, what do you think, what amazes you? What really blows your mind in terms of what's been invented or what's changed in the last 30 years or 50 years or 100 years? Who has an example? Now, smartphone is always the first answer, and I agree. We love the green and gold of Laredo College because we're Packer fans. We're from Wisconsin. Sorry about that. Next week we'll probably have an issue for some Cowboy fans in the room. But it amazes me that when my son is in the audience, when he was young, we lived in London, and we couldn't watch any NFL games except Monday night at 2 a.m. we could get up and watch Monday Night Football. Now, no matter where we are, we can stream in the car if you're in a passenger seat, on an airplane, it doesn't matter, right? And all of that really comes from mobile computing, which is how this is represented up on the screen. And mobile computing is really the convergence of technologies. Cloud computing, the demonetization of storage of data, bandwidth becoming far more available and affordable, accessible, and computing power. But now we're entering this era where we're moving from what's known as a kind environment. Over the last 50 years or so, this is 2024, in 1974, the semiconductor was invented at Intel Corporation, and that drove the computing industry. And it was very predictable that every 18 to 24 months, the power of compute would double. And that has held true for 50 years now. But now we're in this exponential phase that is so difficult to keep pace with. You really just need to pick lanes and grow these skills that relate to adaptability, flexibility, continuous learning, continuous upskilling, and so forth. And that changes fundamentally the value proposition of every community college in the country. Because we'll talk about the future of work, and the workforce that my son has entered, or somehow we still have a 13-year-old, the workforce that she will enter, she has a 1 in 3 chance, statistically, to live to be 100 years of age. The workforce or job experience, the career experience that she'll have will be somewhere between 55 and 75 years, right? It will be very different. It will be across multiple industries. It will be very different. We'll talk about those things. I want to point out there are 6 technologies that, just getting my remote going again here, that are really impacting us right now. And they are where the crowns lie. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and then on the biology side of things, genome editing and synthetic biology. And then on the environmental and green industries, you have fusion energy and geoengineering, or predictable climate repair, essentially. And so these are known as the kingmaker technologies. And the reason for that is because the people, the companies, the countries that drive innovation in those 6 areas will run the world over the next 50 years. And our opportunity, and Laredo's opportunity, is to figure out what our strategy is for each of those. And today we'll focus on artificial intelligence because it's obviously, it showed up strongly after it was, the phrase was coined in 1956, and it only took 70 years or so, 67 years for it to become extraordinarily popular last year. And so what leaders in technology talk about is the reality that AI is as profound or more profound than anything that we have ever innovated in human history. And it's not me saying that, it's the head of Google saying that, Sundar Pichai, right? The only two innovations that AI is compared to historically are electricity. And you can really, if you back up around 100 plus years, you're in the second industrial revolution. The average life expectancy is 50, 53 for women, they always win. And the telephone, electricity, and the gas combustion engine all sort of happened within the same decade. And that's the last time that we've had such a paradigm shifting. So everything we've experienced in our lifetime pales in comparison, okay? And the only other innovation, you have to go back, depending on what research you believe, 400,000 to 1.7 million years to the control of fire, okay? But as I said, technology in and of itself is not profound. What makes it profound is the human reaction, okay? So 1.7 million years ago when we controlled fire, it changed everything. It allowed us to cook food, change our diet. We were able to light pathways in the evening. We started to form loose communities known as tribes. My remote is just a little jaggy. And then in the second industrial revolution, with electrification and the gas combustion engine and the telephone, the world was connected, but other things changed too. Frederick Taylor and the scientific theory of management came into play. We started working on processes like mass production. We started the middle class was formed because of the second industrial revolution. in this age, for the first time, it's not about physical, it's about cognitive. It's about augmenting our minds, and that is what is fundamentally different and what will change everything about the way we learn and the way we work. It is representative of a similar time in the 1500s or so, 15th century, 1440, the printing press was created. And what that did was democratize knowledge, right? Literacy rates shot up, 500,000 books were printed over the next decade. They were spread throughout Europe, and it actually gave us the Age of Enlightenment and the Italian Renaissance and things of that nature. So it always comes down to the response. So let's talk about AI. When you talk to experts who developed AI and run companies based on AI, they say, you know, this is around a 70-year-old term. It's not the best term because it's not actually intelligent yet. And we want to think more about augmented intelligence instead and extending human capabilities. But be aware that as we are giving humans superpowers, we are also, I'm just going to stay at the podium. Maybe it's the confidence monitor that didn't sync up. So this is Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon is the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, and you can read what he's saying here. And to me, this is a little scary. People like me have stood on stage for the last 3 to 5 years and said, AI is not going to take your job. More recently, it's been somebody who, AI is not going to take your job. Somebody who knows how to use AI is going to take your job, okay? And that's a little alarming. But when you listen to the CEO of one of the largest banks in the world say, it's everywhere, it may be a co-pilot, but it also might be to replace humans in certain tasks. We have to understand what that means, especially when he follows that up in his shareholder letter with the next generation of employees at our bank will probably only be working 3.5 days a week. Now, I won't do it this morning, but in most rooms when you ask people, are you okay with 3.5 days a week for a work week? Everybody's okay with that until you realize that maybe it might mean 70% of the pay, right? So there are lots of issues, and to me that's the paradox, that's one of the paradoxes of AI that we have to proactively manage. And I believe that higher education and community colleges in particular, because of how closely related we are as community colleges to the employers, we have a real opportunity to light this path. Because most employers, unless they're very large companies with very large budgets, they don't know what to do about these technologies. And we have always deferred and looked to educators to help light the path. This will not be a linear path, it will be a jagged one. I want to just level set and just get a few vocabulary terms out of the way. On the left-hand side, you see some of the technologies that have been around now for decades, right? Robotic process automation has been popular for 5 years. They're doing credentialing. There's a company called UPath that's a leader. And we could be thinking about building sprints and short learning programs to help people learn RPA, robotic process automation. Technologies like machine learning, NLP, deep learning, those have been around for a long time. And until 18 months ago or 15 months ago, when you talked about AI, everything you were talking about was on the left-hand side. That's what people wanted to talk about. It was about data analytics, decision-making, predictive analytics, etc. And now we have these technologies that have quickly emerged. One of them that we'll spend some time on in workshops today, they fall under the category of what's known as generative AI because they actually create, these technologies create. How many of you have used ChatGPT or some other form of generative AI to create images or text of any kind? Okay, how many of you use it every day? Great, perfect. Edge AI is here. I was just touring right before Christmas a data center where they were doing AI locally on servers. You can do it on phones. That's what Edge is. It has to do with not sending it up to the cloud so that it's private. Causal AI and neurosymbolic AI, you're going to start to hear about this year, and it will really become popular in around 2025 and 2026. Both of these technologies, causal is about cause and effect, and neurosymbolic is about reasoning. So it has to do really with decision making, leveraging AI to make better decisions than humans are able to make. And both of those forms of artificial intelligence you will now start to hear about in 2024. And this may be the first instance of that, but you'll hear it a lot more. And then running in parallel to quantum computing is quantum AI and quantum cybersecurity. And that is it's very early still, but it will happen in this decade, they believe. So in the next 5 to 6 years, you'll start hearing about quantum AI. Right? And that, I don't understand quantum compute very well. It's fundamentally different than how we think of computers. I've watched 6 TED Talks about it, and you should too, because it will fundamentally change the way we compute. It changes everything. It makes everything faster. And when you start thinking about the fears related to artificial intelligence, when we have quantum computing capabilities in the next 5 to 10 years in that range, it's really going to start to accelerate faster than ever. Oftentimes you'll hear, we're going to spend some time today on generative AI, and oftentimes you'll hear the term large language models, or LLMs. ChatGPT or GPT-4 is an LLM. It's called a foundational large language model. Okay? They're the same thing. AI, generative AI is a type of AI. Large language models are what enable generative AI. When you look at the leaders, just a little one landscape slide. When you look at the leaders in AI, people who are buying the processing units, organizations, you can see the usual suspects here. Meta, Facebook, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Tesla, Anthropic is in there next to TikTok. So it's the social media companies, the largest companies in the world, and large Chinese companies as well in the middle there. And this is a very small, abbreviated list of some of the technologies related to consumers. So, we were talking at dinner last night about in the next couple of years, you're going to start it will be normalized in society, many societies, that there will be AI companionship. Who saw the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix? It's that. Okay, and I mean that's existed for 18 months, called Character.ai. You can see there's 4 other companies in it. Snapchat is in it as well. Snap is in it as well. They're offering companionship. It may not be romantic companionship, but it's friendship, it's mentor, it's that sort of thing. And there are definitely options for romantic AI partners. Social media, avatar generators. One that's not on here is something called HeyGen.ai. I just subscribed to it. It can take 2 minutes of video and voice from me, and then from here forward, it will just produce videos with my talking head looking at a camera just based on the things that I type. So I don't need to do videos any longer, right? That technology exists in 4K resolution today. music. I'll show people in the workshop today, you can write a 30-second, you can write a little sentence that says, I want a Christmas song about not spending any time on LinkedIn during the holidays and spending time with family, and I want it to be a country song, and in 2 minutes it creates a 30-second or 1-minute song for you. The lyrics, the music, all of it. Medical advice, MedPalm, which is from the Meta company. Actually, it's Google, sorry. That algorithm, MedPalm, in the second last column there on medical advice, just scored much higher in empathy than actual doctors do in giving medical advice, okay? And then gaming, you can see there's a large number there. And then as you get into the enterprise market space, you have all of these different options. And this is, again, there are hundreds of companies that have started in the last 12 months around these technologies. This is one where, we'll work on ChatGPT today. We will, some of you have probably used Claude. Perplexity is actually a strong product in the educational community. It's a research product. Google Bard is something similar. We tried Synthesia 6 months ago, but it didn't work very well at the time. We haven't tried it again, but we probably should. We use 11 Labs almost every day for voiceover work. You can use any language you want, perfect tone, pick the voice that you want. You can have Scarlett Johansson be your narrator for your video, or somebody that sounds just like her, and just type in what you need her to say and put that to video. And you can see this is all around the creator economy, okay? So there's so many tools coming, and it's why we're hearing so much, and what that's called is hype. Okay, Gartner, which is a consulting company, they came out and they said there's this hype cycle. You start with the innovation trigger, and then you get to this peak of inflated expectations. And if you look at the very top of that peak right now, you see generative AI. Right? That's where we are. We're almost at the very top. Unfortunately, the next thing that always happens and will happen this year is the trough of disillusionment. Okay? And all of the business value, all of the student value, all of the instructor value and college value is in the slope of enlightenment. And so this becomes about how quickly you can manage your way through the trough of disillusionment. I'm going to explain what that means. So you can see these technologies, what they're saying is, here's how far, this is all different types of AI. Remember the slide, I gave you 10 of them. These are all different types of AI or elements of AI. You can see prompt engineering in there, which is how to write prompts for generative AI. Okay, it's going to take 2 to 5 years to get to the plateau of productivity. So in July of 2023, they're saying ChatGPT and every tool like it, generative AI, still 2 to 5 years away from really being a productive tool. Now, you can gain advantage. Your students can gain advantage. Your regional employers can gain advantage by trying to accelerate through the trough of disillusionment. So how does that, why do we go down there this year, and how do we get through it? And it really comes down to these paradoxes. AI is not an easy technology. I've been using it now since October 31st of 2022. And now I use it every day. I've written and won NSF grants with it. I've leveraged AI in every good way and bad way, and in terms of what I should be spending time on and what I shouldn't be spending time on. Made all kinds of mistakes. And some of that is a personal journey that we all have to go on. And we do have to go on that journey, each of us. Because these tools will be ever present. It's like saying I'm never going online. I'm never going on the internet back in 95, right? It's unavoidable. I believe, so much of the world, especially in the educational space, where you'll hear the term AI literacy, we need to teach people how to use it. It's a much more nuanced conversation and bigger challenge than that. But it's manageable. It is manageable. And it is fun. And it's valuable. And it's painful. I'll tell you some stories. But it has to do with how do we manage it individually, organizationally, societally, regionally, etc. Okay? The first is AI can give us superpowers or it can be our kryptonite. And the first element of that is it can absolutely, it is the smartest, how much information do you think it took in terms of storage size to store all of human knowledge? Or everything that it has now in the model? The answer is just 44 gigabytes, right? My phone has a terabyte of storage. It's 44 gigs. Everything is in there because it's all zeros and ones to the AI. It's not the images and the picture and the text and so forth. Okay? So we start with augmented intelligence, but then the risk is we become too reliant on AI and our critical thinking skills, our creativity, everything begins to atrophy because we're consistently outsourcing it. This is a much larger issue than educational dishonesty and so forth. It's much bigger than that. Okay? I know that's an important one. We'll talk about responsible AI. But the larger issue is, for all of us in the room, and for everybody that is benefiting from our instruction and from our employment and so forth, is to not continually outsource. I consistently tell people, every time you just outsource it and say, do this for me, you're one step closer to having that skill be automated instead of augmenting you. I want to talk about that. So I'm challenged right now because my remote is not working and I can't stand still. So I'll get my steps in today. You can increase productivity significantly and you can lose productivity. This will, when Apple Vision Pro comes out this month with spatial computing and with the Meta Quest 3 headset with AR and VR capabilities, we are going to become more immersed in our computing environments. It's going to be less about the PC. This is what I mean about increasing productivity. There was a study done of 750 consultants from Boston Consulting Group. And they were assigned 18 tasks that the study knew AI was good at. And half of those people roughly got access to AI and half did not. And the half that did, and these are elite consultants. I mean, it's the third largest consultancy in the United States, management consultancy in the United States. 12% faster completion of tasks. They completed 25% more tasks, and their work was judged to be 40% higher in quality. That's pretty good, right? We would all want that for ourselves, for our students, for our children, for our employees, those sorts of gains. And this was without any training. That's how accessible this technology is once you work with it and learn how to partner with it. However, when it's working on something that it's not good at, and as a user, you don't know what it's good and not good at, and the next release comes out and now it's good at that, or it's no longer as good at that. So it's very uneven territory. Okay? My experience with ChatGPT is it has gotten consistently better and stronger as a thought partner and so forth. But you can see a 40% increase in quality or a 23% decrease in quality and productivity when working on tasks that were not in the wheelhouse for AI because it's not good at everything. And then when simple training was done on how to use AI, it actually had a negative impact. So again, this is more than just AI literacy. It's an absolute necessary element to learn and explore and play with the tool and so forth, and be trained in how to use it and do AI, do prompting, prompt writing, prompt crafting, prompt engineering, depending on your belief system there. But simple training is not the answer. Okay? It has to be more immersive than that. The next piece is around unlock creativity. So I mentioned to, like, I can't play an instrument. I have this one little guy I can draw. I've been able to since high school, but that's the only sketching I can do. But every image in this presentation I created with AI. Okay, so I have ideas in my head about what I want images to look like, and now it's given me the opportunity to do that. But it can also, and believe me, when you are working on something and you have some creative energy behind that, it's intoxicating. We all know the stories now about social media and smartphones and so forth, and the impact on our brain chemicals and dopamine and that, right? Facebook and getting a like and all of that, and just the endless scrolling through videos and the mindlessness of that and so forth. I actually think on the kryptonite side of things, AI has risks associated with it that are stronger than that, because you actually have this illusion that you are being productive, creating something. I was talking to a colleague who was a working artist for 10 years, and he shared with me that what I'm describing is what artists always have to manage, working artists have to manage, is their creative energy. They have to be aware of when they're going down a rabbit hole that could cost them 3 days and result in nothing that can help them or be of value. So the second element of AI agility that we'll talk about is around how to create value with AI. And then let's talk about the contradiction or the paradox. This can make me more creative. I can write songs now. I can work with an AI to write songs, create a video, create images, and co-create text as well. Okay? So all of those things I can do with simple prompts. But you can see that people in this study said 70% of them were fearful that it will have a negative impact on their creative abilities over time. So we have to actively, proactively, intentionally manage these kinds of capabilities. Creation of content is now democratized. Any one of us can sit down and do 500 Twitter posts in 2 minutes. But the content that we create, we also have to be aware that we have not mastered that content. Right? I wrote an NSF grant. Am I now an expert in that grant? No, I'm not. It's not that I outsourced it to the AI. It was an iterative partnership where we built that together. There's actually 4 people and 1 AI. But we continually worked back and forth in a feedback loop, if you will. But because you have access to so much more information and can incorporate that into your thoughts, you can start to trick yourself that you've learned something when you haven't really learned it. These are bigger issues than did somebody use AI to do a paper. Personalized learning. It's one of the most incredible opportunities with regard to AI is meeting learners where they are and in the language they speak natively, and giving them the opportunity to learn at their pace, and giving them the opportunity to learn with the reinforcement that they need to truly build a skill, for instance. However, it can also result in echo chambers, because I can be learning something and not getting any perspective from anybody else. There's this issue of collapsing inward with AI where we begin to isolate ourselves in everything that we do more and more. We can enhance our decision making, but we can also overload our brains, our minds, with data, with information. It's going to fundamentally change the way we make decisions, all of us. I mentioned causal AI and neurosymbolic AI this year. You will start to hear those two terms. And this will all be about reasoning and decision making. Okay? And this is where ethical and responsible AI will become so much more important, even more important than it is out of the gate. Daniel Kahneman in 1979 with Amos Tversky wrote a book called Thinking Fast and Slow. And they talked about System 1 and System 2. System 1, about 90% of the decisions we make all day long, we make about 35,000 decisions a day, I believe. And 90% of those, we just use our models, our mental models, our heuristics, our biases. We just use our intuition. We just make decision after decision after decision. About 10% of the time, we think about it. We do critical thinking. We ponder. Sometimes we use System 4, which is collaborative intelligence. We ask other people for their opinion on what we should do and so forth. System 3 is augmented decision-making, augmented intelligence. That's when I can use an AI to help me make decisions. I have 138 slides. You won't see all of them today. But I have 138 slides that I choose from for each session, okay? And every time I create a slide, like I created 4 separate images here and a message related to those images, I put that script and the imagery in front of an artificial, an AI simulated advisory board with people of different personas, a diverse group of people from economic development, education, different ethnicities, different age groups, different generations, etc. And I ask them for their feedback on those 8 slides. And I just get that feedback. And what it gives to me, sometimes it's meaningless because it's just AI saying something because I asked it to. But sometimes it helps me think differently about the content and I change it. And that's dynamic decision making. Should I use human intuition? Should I think critically about it on my own? Should I work with other people? Or should I augment our decision making using AI? More and more, with the new AIs that you'll experience this year, you'll make a decision to leverage AI. We can solve problems efficiently, so efficiently. It's unbelievable how quickly you can get answers. It's so much better than search. But we talk to people less when we're using AI, especially if they're offering companionship or in the near future doing tasks for us around the house. So individual performance goes up, but in this study, the collective diversity of ideas goes down by 41%. We have to actively manage that in the classroom, in our school systems, in our businesses, at home. Right? My daughter, my 13-year-old, she has a ChatGPT subscription. Her school system has banned the use of that for writing papers and so forth. So we talk about it every day about how to use it as a study guide. It gives her quizzes. It helps her prepare for a social studies test on Cuban-American relations over the last 50 years, a history piece, or the Philippines and so forth. And she goes in more prepared because she's taken 4 quizzes already, and she's prepared a study guide leveraging the feedback in terms of what she's learned. Okay? There's ways to leverage this technology that requires us to be flexible in the way that we run the classroom, but we absolutely have to be aware of these risks of this one, for instance, where we have to have people working together on purpose, intentionally. It can absolutely be a tremendous connector across the world, AI. It solves every language barrier there is. It's the best translator ever invented. It can also cause us to isolate ourselves. I have noticed over the last 15 months, I spend less time working with others and more time working with myself and the AIs that we've created. It can be an equalizer, or it can widen gaps. This is the part. The last substantive conversation I ever had with my mother, she said, "Todd, I just want you to know your dad and I are very proud of everything you've achieved in business." And after 4 years of therapy, why did she say in business? I'm a good dad. I'm a good dad, right? I was also turning 50 at the time, and I really wanted to make an impact. And the opportunity to work with community colleges has helped me understand so much over the last 3 years of the gaps that exist. And I want you to know that AI can absolutely help solve some of the gaps that you see every day. It can also, if it's managed incorrectly, widen the gaps. It is not an access issue. That has been the case with other technologies. It's not access. It's about how we manage these paradoxes. It's about how we work with the technology. You'll find that the baseline proficiency for the bottom quartile goes up by 43% using AI, whereas top quartile performers, it goes up 17%. When working on something that AI is not good at, or working with AI in such a way where the human-AI partnership is not working properly, it can have a greater deficit than for top performers. So top performers are either up 17 or down 17. The bottom quartile performers, they can really get a massive boost in performance and capability, or they can suffer because of it. We have to actively manage this. We can't sit back and wait for these things to just be discovered over time. And if you take a look at this, the baseline task without ChatGPT and with, you can see low performers outperforming with GPT the high performers on a given task in the study. And the study was Boston Consulting Group, Stanford, Harvard, MIT, University of Pennsylvania. And that's a meaningful boost in performance. And lastly, this piece around human being versus human doing. Over the last 100 years, since mass production, since the assembly line, we have learned to become more machine-like, more transactional in the work that we do, the work that we prepare people to do throughout their career. And many of those cognitive tasks and repetitive physical tasks will be automated in this decade. And this gives us an opportunity to reclaim some of the humanity in our work. And that means being more focused on issues around well-being, being more focused on socio-emotional skill building, high cognitive skill building, and we'll talk about that in just a second. There's also this issue of if I've built skills and I'm doing something, a job for 20 years, and then it gets automated, what happens to my sense of purpose, my sense of identity? We have to manage this proactively, and we have to prepare people for these possibilities, and not possibilities, but probabilities. This is the opportunity to engage with the workforce. It's not just about the top of the funnel for Laredo College. It's about getting to everybody in the community to help them understand how jobs are going to evolve, how work will evolve, how learning will evolve, how skill building will evolve. And that requires AI agility in these 6 areas. I don't know which one is the most important one. I know that if you don't have an understanding of all of them, you're going to suffer somehow. Responsible AI is an umbrella for, there's a lot of things that go into those 6 areas. But the point is, it's not just about ethical AI and responsible use. It's about discovering what the opportunity is. It's not just about the opportunity, it's also about proactively understanding and managing the risk. And that is the responsibility that higher education has today, with these technologies available to anybody for free on their phone. I'll go past the adopting. We do have to meet people where they are. Some of you are skeptical about artificial intelligence and its capabilities. And it is unpredictable. It does not improve on a linear path. Suddenly, after 6 months, you look at something and it's just amazing how different it is. Mind-blowing how different it is, how much more capable it is. And then a year can go by and it won't improve at all. And some people believe we're going to run out of data to feed it by 2026, and it just won't be able to improve at this kind of pace. That's a possibility too. But people have access to this tool for free right now, and the people they're competing with in the workforce are learning how to use these tools. This is the fastest adopted technology in the history of the world. We can't have people operating at a disadvantage. But whether you're skeptical or an enthusiast or trailblazer or whatever the case may be, there are things you can be doing to improve your perspective. Now, it may not get more positive, but you can become better informed about how to use the tools, how to create value, how to use them responsibly. So I want to spend some time, we need to spend some time on the reality is that while this conversation is mostly about artificial intelligence, it is not the only thing going on in the world that is disrupting work at an unprecedented pace. And Laredo College, along with the workforce boards, economic development, local businesses, needs to work together in order to address these issues. I mentioned before, the Gen Alpha, right? Gen Z, Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha's, the oldest people are 13 years old. In 5 years, they'll be in the workforce. By 2030, they'll be 11% of the workforce, Gen Alpha, okay? They will likely live to be 100 years of age, many of them. And that percentage of 33% that I gave you is going to increase because of the improvements in healthcare. So healthy human lifespan requires people to work longer. We have big changes in work itself and in organizations that we'll talk about as well. One significant issue is if we were doing this in 1990, the half-life of the value of a skill was 26 years, a technical skill. Today, it's 18 months to 5 years. Okay, and less if you're in high tech and focused in a particular language, for instance, or a particular area of cybersecurity. These things are changing all the time. And we're not used to change. In the first industrial revolution, when steam changed the world, we lived to be 37 years of age. So it's possible that you were pulled out of the fields and into a textile mill to work in an automated way with steam power, replacing the multi-generational artisanship of loomers, right? To work in an industrial factory. But you didn't hear about it from your grandfather or your father or tell your grandchildren because we lived to be 37 years of age. And 100 years later, in the second industrial revolution with electricity, gas combustion, and the telephone and so forth, it was still only 51 years of age. And even today, we're going to live to be in our 70s, and we're kind of used to this pathway of retirement age and then drifting into retirement and so forth. But the generations that are coming through Laredo College right now, their careers are going to last much longer than ours. 55 to 70 years. And we have so many paradigm-shifting technologies going on. We are the first generations who are experiencing multiple paradigm shifts in one lifetime. And you saw those kingmaker technologies, and every one of those represents a paradigm shift. Okay? And so it's okay to feel overwhelmed, and it's okay to be stressed out about all of the change that's happening so quickly, not to mention all the other non-technology factors, because we are not biologically wired to deal with this speed. But the pace is accelerating. So we have to find ways to help people in the future generations manage that, manage their career differently than we did 20 years ago when somebody came through the college. If you remember one slide today, this is the slide. In 2017, McKinsey Corporation, a large consultancy, the largest consultancy, asked AI experts, when do you think computers and machines will be able to perform the tasks on the left to the level of the top quartile of human performance? So if we have 400 people in here or so, the top 100 performers, okay, the top quartile. When will a machine be able to do that? And in 2017, this is what they said. And then after ChatGPT came out in March of last year, they asked in May, and this is what they said. So you can see that we lost decades of flexibility to change. We lost decades of time. The left side of the bar represents the most aggressive predictions, and the right side of the bar represents the most conservative. And you can see that those bars have gotten a lot shorter as well, in many cases. Things like social and emotional reasoning, some people were thinking somewhere in the 2070s, 50 years from now. But now we're talking about the medical algorithm being more empathetic than doctors today with their communication. So these changes are significant. And if this is the gap in being able to accurately predict in just 6 years, 6 years later, this is how much it changed, how right are they right now? How right are those? We need to be thinking about 2024 to 2030 and making incremental one-year plans. It's very difficult to say what AI will do 2 years from now, 3 years from now. The next 6 to 12 months are actually relatively predictable. Still takes a lot of work and you're wrong all the time, but it's predictable. Generative AI, ChatGPT, and tools like that you saw the slides on, will impact 40% of working hours across industries. And the way that breaks down is this. This one, next slide's a bit of an eye chart, but you can just see by industry. Pick an industry. In banking, 2 out of 3 tasks are highly susceptible for automation or augmentation by AI. And augmentation should be good. We have to learn skills on how to work with AI to do higher quality work, more productivity, right? And so that light blue line all the way up is that piece. And you can see the industries that are less susceptible to automation. But every job will be impacted. 30% of hours worked today could be automated in this decade. You can see the second line there, education and workforce training. Before generative AI, just a year ago, we were thinking maybe 8% of the hours were automatable, and then it tripled to 24%. Because there are tasks that we do that can be automated, the transactional tasks. Are we really experiencing a job-mageddon? You can see it, the further back you go, the more aggressive they are. But what you're really seeing is that 20% of the workforce, roughly, in 2023, on average, right around 20% of jobs will actually change over. And that's actually quite typical of an industrial revolution due to AI. That means people will have to learn new skills and add value in different ways at the same employer or a new employer. And every community college in the United States is well positioned to help employers manage that process. And we'll talk about how to do that. These are the fastest growing and fastest declining jobs. You can see the industries match up with the previous slides. Administrative tasks, repetitive work. The net labor change, 10 million people will have to change jobs. 12 million people by 2030, 10 million of those are in those bottom two lines. Customer service, sales, and office support is changing drastically in the next 5 years. So let's talk about customer service. You can see we're not talking about decreases in people or jobs. We're talking about increasing. We have different businesses with different opinions. Increasing payroll, decreasing payroll, little or no change, we don't know. The answer most of the time, 3 years from now, they don't know. Community colleges are well positioned to help employers chart that path. This is less about simple conversations around KSAs and skills and so forth, and really helping them distill the work. One of the things that's happened in the last couple of years is the people who have higher education qualifications, the bachelor's degrees and beyond, postgraduate degrees, you can see they are now almost as susceptible as everybody else. It used to be the less education you had, the worse off you had it. That gap has narrowed significantly. So how is this going to change? 80% of all workers today will be impacted in this decade. 60% of those will have somewhere between 10 and 50% of their job change. That includes you. So, everybody put your hand up. When you have a lack of comfort about the level of change, if you could all put your hand up now, okay? I'm going to give you some numbers, and this is what percentage of your job will change, okay? 10% of your job changes because of automation or augmentation. Are you still comfortable? Keep your hand up. 20% of your job changes. Are you still comfortable? Keep your hand up. 30% of your job is changing. Are you still comfortable? 30% of your working hours. 40% of your job is changing. Are you still comfortable? 50% of your job changes. Are you still comfortable? Half your job. Okay. This is an issue of thresholds of flexibility, right? Some of us, I'll figure it out, right? Hands were still up at 50% in the back, some of the back rows, right? Some of us at 10%, no, I would rather not have any change, thank you. I'll go work somewhere where they don't ask me to change. That's fair. I built these skills. This is what I went to school for. Over the last 30 years of my life, I've built these skills. This is how I put food on the table. This is how I support my family. And now you want me to change that 7 hours a week? I don't understand. Why? That school, that employer, they don't want me to change. They want the skills I have because they don't have an AI strategy. That's not a great long-term plan. Right? But there will be that. There will be unintended attrition. People will be quitting because they'll be asked to learn new skills and change. We have to manage that. We have to manage that here. We have to manage that in the community. We have to prepare students and the existing workforce for that reality. Because some of those people don't want 10% of their job to change. How will it change? Well, we're going to be doing, by 2027, 3 years from now, much less transactional work. Okay, transactional work will go the way of robotic process automation, which is algorithms, and artificial intelligence. We will be doing more relational work. And we will be delivering expertise as well. And will be augmented by AI in both the relational work and delivering our expertise. 3 years from now. About a third of jobs are going to remain stable jobs as we know them today. Job description, hierarchy, here's who you report to, this is what you do 40 plus hours a week. Another third of jobs will have some of that stability, if you will, but then that 10 to 50% will become more fluid and people will be asked to flow to where the work is based on the skills they have. This is going on in the largest companies right now. Right? Hewlett-Packard, HP, is working with Workday, their HR system, and they have set up what's called an internal talent marketplace. This will be a very popular term in the next 12 to 24 months. And when somebody at HP needs somebody who's innovative, has the skill of innovation, they post, we have this project, we have this initiative, we're looking for people with these skills. This is a skills-based economy. And then in come the people who have 30% of their job is their job. But then this other 70% is, I have the skills that match that work. And the last piece are people that are just constantly flowing. Today we think about that as the gig economy. Gig economies are now coming into enterprises. Just constantly going to where the work is, the projects that need the skills that I have. So the people who have the most skills, the broadest skills, as opposed to what we have valued for 50 years in terms of depth of expertise, will also be highly valued because they can be plugged in on any project in a skills-based economy. And with every industrial revolution, the need for talent has evolved. Far right column. Right? With the second industrial revolution, with electrification and gas combustion, we wanted certainty in our processes. Scientific theory of management, mass production. The more Model Ts we produce, the more chickens that come off the line, the less we can charge the consumer, the economies of scale, et cetera, et cetera. We want to reduce risk, we want to standardize process. By the time we get to the 70s, and we're talking about the need for STEM, it took us 30 years. 1974, first semiconductor, 50 years ago. 2001, STEM became a term. Okay, so it took us 27 years just to name the movement, the emphasis on STEM. We don't have that time this time around. It's moving too quickly. Now what we need are a skills-based mindset. I'm going to continuously grow skills, manage a portfolio of skills and experiences, and manage my career that way. I need human skills, high cognitive skills like critical thinking, socio-emotional skills like emotional intelligence and effective communication, because my job is relational, not transactional. And I need to learn how to partner with AI because it augments me. It makes me better. So this model, the one that we all grew up in, is now dead. Right? Front-end loaded education, go to work for 35, 45 years, get the gold watch, jump on a horseback right off into the sunset. I remember when I was young, younger than that, my dad got Fortune magazine, and as you would page through that, like every 7-year-old should, gold watch ads all the time, and they were retirement watches. Who's giving out retirement watches these days, right? The average person stays for 4 years in a job, 4.1 years. In technology, it's 1.8 years. So the loyalty, it's not an issue of loyalty. The dynamic of work has changed. This is what's not happening. This is a fallacy. This is the issue of 1990 and 26 years of half-life of value of a skill. Oh, come get upskilled, come get reskilled. Well, you're good to go now. You're 40, you can get to retirement age. Not the case. It looks more like this. This is the model. I have a role. I understand how technology can augment me. I build new skills. Now I have comfort going into a future role. If I don't have those things, I'm not comfortable. If I have confidence that I can learn a new skill, if I have confidence that I can partner with an AI or some other technology, I have more confidence that I can do well in a future role. If you walk into my office one day and say half your job is changing, you need to enroll in somewhere and grow some skills so we can figure out what to do with you. That's not a great conversation to have, right? Our job as not just an institution of higher education, but as members of the community are to help organizations, leaders, have the right conversations, give people the runway, invest in growing their skills. Yes, people will keep moving. We all know the issue of I don't want to train somebody so they go work for the competitor, right? People will keep moving, but more people will leave if you are not offering the upskilling opportunity. AI is not done improving. All of the data, and it was a lot of data, it's overwhelming. It's going to be wrong in 6 months. Way more jobs are at risk than what are on these slides. People need to be thinking about this, having options throughout their career, 4 years at a time, but for 70 years. They're going to live to be 100. They can't retire at 65. That's what we have to prepare them for. It looks like this, right? I'm constantly upskilling. And it is hard to manage squiggly lines. It's not how we think about it. It's not how our career went. Maybe for some of us it did. But when you're thinking about a 7-decade plan and constantly reskilling because technology continues to accelerate, it changes the fundamental conversation with higher ed. Let's take one practical look at a customer service job, okay? You saw customer service and sales jobs are at risk this decade. Why? In an average customer service job, there are 13 tasks. That's how they spend most of their day. 4 of those tasks are automatable. 5 of those tasks are augmentable, and 4 of them at the top are intrinsically human. I would argue all 4 of those, I'd be better off being augmented by an AI. Crisis management, how will my team react to this communication? Give me some feedback before I send this out. Relationship growth, building and maintaining relationships, communication based on personality profiles, etc., sentiment analysis, and the last communication, the email you sent me, all of that's AI. It can inform how I'm treating that relationship. It can help me understand when I need to do certain things in order to build more value in that relationship in your eyes. So when you take, this is distillation. This is, I believe, a place where Laredo College and every other community college can fundamentally change the value equation with your employers. Is to get in to those conversations, which you know you have access to those conversations, and help them understand the distillation of jobs into discrete units of work, work into tasks, and tasks into skills. Here's what it looks like when you take a day and you say, okay, 13 tasks, how much time do I spend on each of those? And what we find out is that 35% of the day is automatable, and only 20% of the day is purely human. So 80% of that job is susceptible. That's why it's at risk this decade in the data, right? It's susceptible to automation or augmentation. And again, I want you to view augmentation as a beautiful gift. It's not a threat. Being able to do better work faster with better results is a good thing. But 35% of that job description is going to change fundamentally. So if you have 20 of those people, 20 customer service people, you probably don't need all 20 of those people. And even at an individual level, we have to figure out how you're going to spend 35% of your time, which is about 700 hours a year. And in order to do that, we want to invest in helping you build new skills because you're an important part of our team. That's the conversation that we have to help employers have with their teams. Or the alternative is, I'll go down the street and work for the guy who isn't implementing that technology and just wants me. But then that company is less competitive because they're going to lose to the companies that are technology driven. That's been proven time and time again in advanced manufacturing and so forth. They can't compete. So we have to have an investor's mindset. We have to manage a portfolio of skills and experiences over decades. We have to help people build those skills to do that, have that mindset. They have to actively manage the return on time. We always talk about time management, and many of us, I'm sure, convey how precious time is as we get into our 50s and 60s and beyond. But return on time is probably more important than ever now, given the amount of change that will occur. We need to upgrade our thoughts around lifelong learning to continuous upskilling. And we need transdisciplinarity in that system. We need to help people work in multiple different fields. We were talking last night about stacked degrees. I really believe that in the next decade, stacked associate degrees will be highly valued in the workforce by employers. We just have to help people get there creatively. So human skills, we talked about socio-emotional and high cognitive. I just want to share with you some thoughts as I close up here. More important than ever are these skills. This is the 2027 outlook from WEF, World Economic Forum, but you can see analytical thinking and creative thinking are at the top, and they have been for some time. Emotional intelligence during the pandemic was up there as well. AI and big data, today it's in 15th place. By 2027, it will be in third. And you can see, look at all of the human skills in there, empathy and active listening. There are some technical, network and cybersecurity, systems thinking, dependability, talent management, design, curiosity, lifelong learning. Those types of skills are what will be valued. And as was mentioned in the introduction, 7 years ago in the UK, we started something called the Human Skills Project, and in our research, we found that so many authors and now massive consultancies they've been writing about this for a century, that this is where work is going. It will become more human again. The future of work is uniquely human. We have to help people understand what human skills are versus what skills are that machines can do. Human skills are durable skills. Think about it this way. Maybe some of you have heard this model. Skills are either perishable, transferable, or durable. Perishable skills, that's where we're talking about 26 years, now 18 months to 5 years. Durable skills last a lifetime. They continue to build in value. Transferable is, I have some technology elements here. I can learn Python, a particular language in computer programming, and while someday that might not be as important as a language, which has happened with other languages that we learned when we were in college, some of the elements of it will still be important because I have computational thinking skills and I can still program. I can learn the next language faster because I've built that skill. That's transferable, okay? So we have to help people focus on building durable skills, but then acutely helping them upskill to build the technical skills they need to get through the next 5 years, 18 months to 5 years. And the more skills they build, the more flexible they'll be, the more valuable they'll be in the workforce, and they can flow to work in a company, not as a gig worker, as a W-2. And so the group in London put together this is version 7 in their 7th year, these 4 quadrants around self-determination. This is about surviving and thriving in the age of AI. Self-determination meaning we have agency. This is not a story about technology. This is a story about how we reshape learning and how we reshape work. And the skills that we learn, the way that we work together is more relational. Now, we may have to learn how to work not only with one another differently, but with technology, and AI will be in our group. As I mentioned, we did an NSF grant where there were 4 humans and 1 AI, right? And we were all collaborating. Workflows are going to change. They have changed. It's not a future issue. That workflows have changed because of AI. So we need new skills. Now, the upper left-hand quadrant of unlocking human potential, these are the types of skills that if people can build, they can really soar. In a world that's filled with technology, we will put more value on the human work than we ever have before. We have interpersonal collaboration and being augmented with technology, or the human-machine partnership. We're inundated with technology today, and we do need people who have skills that have at least fundamental understandings of what cybersecurity threats are, and that's going to become more complicated with quantum computing and AI and so forth. And so working on these types of skills, these are the durable skills that we can be teaching. We can be incorporating these in everybody that you graduate. Can they answer the question to an employer who values critical thinking? You ask a CEO and they give you an answer like, we hire problem solvers. We want people who can solve problems for us. Right? Well, let's have the conversation about what that means. What 8 skills and mindsets does somebody need to be an outstanding problem solver, or 6 or 4? In your mind, Mr. CEO or Ms. CEO, you own the company. Which skills matter to you? What equals success in your company? Because our graduates are walking in to employers today, especially the young graduates, recognizing community colleges are a little different. They're walking into employers today, and employers are asking them questions like, about critical thinking, for instance, or decision making, or how do you make decisions and so forth. They don't know how to define these terms. They don't know how to apply critical thinking in the role they're applying for. We have to solve that gap. We have to teach these skills explicitly so they understand that this situation requires me to take a step back and not use my framework, but use my brain or my AI or row 2 to get a good answer. We have to help people build these skills because these are the durable skills that can't be automated. So there's an entire bit of learning content here, 21-day journeys for every one of these skills, fits in LMSs, they build stacks for employers and high schools and so forth. I believe, and I'll close on this, I believe that for every technology initiative, especially as it relates to AI, we should also have a human initiative in that same organization. So for instance, at the city of Amarillo right now, the local government up in Amarillo, they're a leader in using avatars for digital help desk. It's AI. But they are also engaged with Innovation Outpost, the nonprofit that I run in Amarillo, around human-centric leadership. Because we can't lose that sense of humanity in the work that is left for us when the machines are doing the things that we've been training people to do for the last century. That's the call to action here. We have to prepare people for more human work that gets done. Thank you all very much for taking the time today. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me to Laredo.
Mr. Todd McKees, thank you for joining us and speaking with us today on AI. We have a gift bag we would like to present to you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Veronica. Thank you. There we go.
Before we bring on Dr. Arrezola, I do want to take a moment to again thank Todd for being here. I know that for some of us, we're thinking, how does this apply to me? And what is that going to mean to the way I work in my office or how I work with my students or how I teach using the new OERs, the whole effort that we're doing to try to enhance not only our teaching but the learning within our students. But I think the big question is, how are we going to plan for what the next phase of workforce is going to look like, which means what programs do we have to either enhance or develop that we haven't even thought about? And so one of the things that we're hyper-focused on is, what am I doing today and right now? But what we need to start looking at is what the future will bring. Right now we're finishing up, and I'm going to use this quick example. We're finishing up, and it'll probably take us another 9 months, our new automotive center in at the South Campus. But the faculty are already thinking about automated cars because we don't have that developed yet, and we don't have the functionality of all of that yet, and nor do we have the equipment being put into what we thought 2 years ago when we designed, or when that facility was designed, the automated car. But as automated cars are introduced into our society, how are we preparing not only our students, but our faculty to teach that? And how are you reskilling yourself for the next iteration of your current position? Because it will change, not by me, but by just the evolution of our society and the way we work. Because our students are using this technology, as Todd said, and how are we preparing ourselves when we receive these students so that we can teach them something they don't know and not them teaching us something we don't know? And I think that's the critical point of today. And as you break up into your departments, I think you're going to need to really stop to think about what's the next iteration of me as an employee. as a staff member or faculty member? What does that mean for me in 3 years or 1 year or 6 months from now? Because as we start to automate more and more of the processes we do, where does your value come in? Where does my value come in? And what does that mean for Laredo College? What does that mean for this community at large? And so I think today as we focus on artificial intelligence, and I want you to know we're not the only community college that's doing this. They're all over the country, community colleges are worrying about what is the next phase of nursing? What is the next phase of teaching electrical design? What is the next phase of literature or art? We need to be thinking about that and how do we teach that? And so I thank you all for your attention today, because I do think that as we move forward, we get caught in the day-to-day transactional things that we're required to do by law or by policy, like Dr. Ariasola's presentation of, some of the things that we need to make sure we're adhering to. But how much of that can we use artificial intelligence to help us do those tasks so that we can then focus on the real work with students day to day, one-on-one? Taking students from what they don't know and bridging that gap to the new. But we need to bridge those gaps for ourselves too. And so we're committed to making sure that that training exists for all of you, so that all of you can stay ahead of what that next generation is going to look like. So with that, I want to say thank you, and we're going to continue on with the program. Todd, thank you for that wonderful introduction to artificial intelligence at Laredo College. We thank you and your son for being here today, and we look forward to the rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ramirez. Happy New Year, everybody. Dr. David Arizola, Vice President of Compliance and Risk Management. Welcome back. One of my favorite things to say at this time is when we're on Christmas break, it's 2 weeks at home. I'm sure some of you might know already, but I have 3 teenagers at home. I was the first one out the door this morning trying to get back to work. So I'm glad to be here. I'm recovering a little bit from laryngitis, but I'm glad to be here before you all. And what did they do with the mouse? And we're going to provide some updates on the Compliance and Risk Management Division, 2 of them in particular. The first one is going to be earlier this academic year, in early September, we had an incident where we had a potential active threat on campus. All of you, I'm sure, remember what we went through. We had an awesome response from local law enforcement, an awesome response from our internal law enforcement, an awesome response from our leadership and our safety team. But in going back and talking to some of the folks that we have on campus, some of our stakeholders, let me get this thing up and running. We had a lot of discussions about what we could have done better. There were we got a lot of input. We talked to students, we talked to leadership, we talked to faculty, we talked to staff, we talked to almost everybody we could. We invited our local law enforcement back on campus, thanks to Dr. Ramirez, to have a meeting about, okay, what happened, what did we do, what could have gone, could we have done better? And there were a lot of things. It was really a lot of little things that came up. But the number one thing, in my opinion, as I read through all the feedback I got, was on communication. The frequency of communication, the style of communication, what we were sending out, how often we were doing that. So our team, which I'll introduce in a little bit, we started doing some research about what other institutions were doing, what our local school districts were doing, how other people were handling the task of communicating during an emergency. Right? And Cassandra Salinas, who's our safety and risk manager, and Chief Jose Hernandez, who was our chief of campus police. If you haven't met them, I know they might not necessarily be new to the college, Chief Hernandez is, but they're certainly new to their roles, right? And they were here that day. Again, a lot of great work that came out of their leadership from that. And we're going to introduce something today which we're going to be rolling out throughout the year. What you're going to see today will be a good 15, 20-minute presentation, as you promised, Cassandra. But it's only going to be still the surface. We're going to go in, we're going to invite you in to come talk more about it. We have some things that we're going to send out. In fact, as you were walking in today, you should have received a card that had some of the basic information, very basic information of what you're going to see today. So I'm going to have them come up and make sure I have the right presentation. So again, Cassandra's our safety and risk manager, and Chief Hernandez is our chief of police, and I'm going to let them kind of take over and take over some of the talking too. So.
Good morning, everyone. Like Dr. Arrezola said, my name is Cassandra Salinas, and I'm your safety and risk manager. I don't think I can walk with this mic, so I'll just stay right here. So today we're going to talk about the Standard Response Protocol, SRP for short. The Standard Response Protocol is based on, oh, nice. Can you hear me? Oh. Yes, you can. So the Standard Response Protocol is based on 5 actions: hold, secure, lockdown, evacuate, and shelter. Recently, Laredo College has adopted this standard to enhance students and staff safety during emergencies and incidents. This morning, like Dr. Arrezola said, you guys received a card. Most of y'all received a card that kind of details you what to do in an emergency. We're going to get started with hold. When it is time to activate hold, this is the notification you'll receive. Hold in your room or area, clear the halls. Once again, when we need to activate hold, that's the notification you'll receive. Hold in your area, clear the halls. So why would we need to activate hold? We would need to activate hold because the halls need to be kept clear.
A few examples of this might be a fight in the hallway, maybe some students going at it, or a medical emergency in the hallway, or inside a building or outside a building, and any other non-threatening emergencies inside or outside our buildings.
Like Chief said, a hold may be likely caused by a medical emergency. We had maybe a student fainting in the hallways, seizing in the hallways. We kind of just want to keep the hallways clear. So we're going to get into what students do. Students, all they need to do is clear the halls and remain in the room and area till the all clear is announced. Do business as usual. Just remain in the classroom. They're reading, they're doing homework, they're on their laptop. It's do business as usual. It's not a hide-in situation. For faculty and staff, what do you all do? So you all close and lock the doors. If you all see any students in the hallways when the hold is activated, you guys can bring students in, account for the students in your classroom, any visitors that you may have that you pulled into the classroom. Do business as usual. and just remain in the classroom until the all clear is announced. So hold was pretty simple. You just kind of want to keep the hallways clear. And now we move into secure. Secure means get inside, lock outside doors. That's going to be the notification you guys receive when it's time to activate secure. So secure, get inside, lock outside doors. Secure is not lockdown, guys. Secure is not lockdown. So we're going to get into why we would activate secure.
So secure will come in the form of any bolos from any outside law enforcement agencies, any be on the lookouts, for example, from Border Patrol, since we're close to the river, Laredo Police, in case they have anything coming onto our campus, which was the case back in September, or the Sheriff's Office, or any other law enforcement agency. Possibly some civil unrest going on, maybe even organized demonstrations from special interest groups.
So if we have an alligator that escapes from the LVV, we will be calling it secure. So students, what do students do if there's students outside? You bring them inside the building and do business as usual. For faculty and staff, it's a little bit different from hold. Go ahead. Faculty and staff, it's a little bit different. You guys are going to increase your situational awareness. You're going to bring everybody inside. If you have the building key, you can lock the door. If not, just lock the door to your room. Take attendance, note the time, and do business as usual. The only thing different between hold and secure is that you're going to increase your situational awareness. So life cycle release. Life cycle release, controlled release may happen after a lockdown incident. We may go into a controlled release to release students one by one by one. And so lockdown. When we need to activate lockdown, this is the notification that you'll receive. Lockdown, locks, lights, and out of sight. That's going to be the first message you receive. The next message you receive is prepare to avoid, deny, defend. But once again, it's lockdown, locks, lights, and out of sight. That's going to be the notification that you'll receive when it's time to activate it.
So some examples of this would be an actual active threat, whether it be armed or unarmed, or a credible information possibly for mass casualty type of emergency, like bomb threats or target attacks.
So it is a more serious situation. If it's an active threat, we will call that lockdown so that you guys know what exactly to do. We're going to get into what students need to do during a lockdown. Students, move away from sight. If you're in a room and it has a window in the classroom, if you can see the window, they can see you. So move away from, move to a location that you can't see the window, because if you can see the window, they can see you. Maintain silence. Do not open the door for anyone, especially students, and prepare to avoid, deny, defend. For faculty, we're going to watch a quick video.
If you are in a classroom when a lockdown is called, the main thing to remember is locks, lights, out of sight. As students gather in a safe area of the room, lock the door and turn off all lights. Have everyone in the room move to a location that is out of sight. Pick an area of the room that can't be seen from interior windows. An actual lockdown may not be resolved for several hours. Here's how you should wait. Stay in the safe location. Don't move around the room. Remain silent. Staff, take written attendance of who is in the room. Note anyone missing and if you have any extra students or staff.
Noting attendance and who's in the room gives us an idea and account for everybody. It's important for faculty and staff to do this in an active event or in a secure event. This gives us a clear picture of who we have and if we're missing anybody. If somebody went to the restroom and that lockdown was activated and you had to close that door, we know that we have somebody not there in that room. So please note attendance. Maintain silence, guys. It's a heightened situation. It's worrisome. You guys get nervous. The students are going to get nervous. but you're the authority in that room, so please try to maintain silence and student silence. Do not open the door. The law enforcement or administration will be the only ones opening the door. We will not just say, all clear, you guys can get out. So that's not one of the things that we will do. And like students, prepare to avoid, deny, defend. We're gonna watch a video. And
If a fire alarm sounds, do
during
not leave your
a
safe location
lockdown
unless you
event,
are certain that
we're
a
not
fire
gonna
is
exit the
threatening your
building
room.
unless we know it's a
If
real
you are
threat.
forced to evacuate due to a fire, keep in mind that the hall may not be your best escape route.
So once we go through the lockdown situation, and we know that the threat has been neutralized, there's no longer a threat, we will probably transition from a lockdown, lock slides out of sight, prepare to avoid, deny, defend, to a secure, so that we can have that controlled release. We will be going building by building, room by room with the additional law enforcement and administration to make sure that everybody gets out safe and there's no longer a threat. We will not do the controlled release until we know that we're all clear. Now we're gonna move into evacuate. Evacuate to a location. So if I were to send out that notification, evacuate to the Maravilla Gym, evacuate to the Kazin. So that's gonna be the notification that you guys will receive. If the fire alarm sounds, please do not wait for me to send out that notification. The fire alarm will tell you exit the building, please exit the building. Students, fire alarm sounds, what do? Grab your stuff, get out. If possible, take your phone and follow instructions. For faculty and staff, you guys may be the ones leading the investigation, the evacuation. So students may not know where the Maravilla Gym is, and you guys evacuate them all to that location. And take account of all students, visitors, and others. You know what, we're evacuating the building, somebody's coming in. No, let's go to the Maravilla Gym. Notify missing, injured, or extra. So a police evacuation is a little bit different. I know some individuals that September 6th incident did get a feel of the police evacuation. You guys need to understand that it is a heightened situation. Emotions are going. Chief, you want to talk about it?
So in any event that this is a law enforcement event or evacuation, we are looking at fires, maybe even a close brush fire because we are close to the riverbed, hazardous material oriented emergencies, railroad derailment, or even a bomb threat. Please, in any event, just follow any direction from any first responders. That includes Laredo Fire and us, or any other law enforcement agency.
Law enforcement may be yelling, they may give hand signals, just follow instructions as they lead you to the safe location. Shelter. Shelter for hazard using a safety strategy. So here, if I would say shelter, and then it would be flood or volcano eruption, because we have lots of those, earthquakes, and then what to do.
So for shelter, we're looking at inclement weather oriented emergencies, tornadoes, severe hail, or thunderstorms or severe rainstorms.
So a hazard. For shelter, it would be an environmental hazard, like we said. Like Chief said, it could also be a chemical hazard. Environmental, earthquakes, tsunamis, flood. But always follow instructions. For hazmat, if it does happen in our facilities, we will tell you exactly what to do. It would be shelter, hazmat, seal vents, and doors. So that would be the notification you would receive for hazmat. So during a shelter event, please always follow instructions. Faculty and staff, here you may also be the ones leading the event. Account for students, visitors, and others. As always, notify missing, extra, or injured. I went through that pretty fast. give you lots of time to talk.
Thank you, Cassandra. Thank you, Chief. I realize that it's a little bit of a stray from our earlier topic of AI, but it is important that we get that message out. Again, we wanted to get a surface level message out there today as we go through the semester. That's not our message, by the way. As we go throughout the semester and throughout the year, we'll provide some deeper, maybe go into your departments, go into your department meetings to talk a little bit more about, and get some feedback from you. Because sometimes one of the reasons that we chose the SRP is because that's what our local high schools and elementary schools and middle schools use. So the advantage there is that our students come in already familiar with some of these words and phrases. So what we're trying to do is make you all familiar with that as well. Right? Cassandra and her team have put out a video that we'll send out to everybody via email, and that'll provide also some more direction. All right, now the second part of our presentation, we wanted to talk a little bit about one particular policy that is just came into effect this January. Some of you may have heard about it, but Senate Bill 17, it was on the news quite a bit in the last couple of months, and a lot of the headlines kind of said something like this: the Texas Senate approves a bill that would ban diversity programs in public colleges and universities. Right? It's not exactly that, but it is a big change in policy. Right? So the 88th Texas legislature passed, and Governor Bill Abbott signed. I know he's been in the news a lot for different things, but this is probably one of the most impactful bills as far as what we do. And it's regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, right? So what does the bill say? What do we have to watch out for as we're preparing for the semester and preparing some of our activities? These are some of the prohibitions that the bill provides. No more DEI offices. So I wanted to make sure when I say DEI, it is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So no more offices that are dedicated to diversity initiatives unless required by federal law. Okay? Also, no more DEI statements. So we need to make sure that we review things like our, we're okay as far as the institutional mission statement, but department mission statements, any literature that you have where you might have some statements written in the background, no more statements regarding that use the words, especially diversity, equity, and inclusion. Again, there's a prohibition on DEI preferences. No unit of the college shall give preference to an employee or an applicant for employment or a participant in a function of the college based on a person's race, sex, color, ethnicity, national origin. Again, that's required by federal law. I know there's some federal grants we might participate in that, where we might have to do some things there. Thank you. There was one more. Prohibition on DEI training. The college is not required, cannot require you to complete a DEI training as a condition of enrollment or employment. Right? So we've had some of those in the past. I know we've already spent some time ourselves looking internally at some of the things that we do to make sure that we're already in compliance on the leadership side. But so we have kind of removed some trainings because of this law. Now there are some things that are still protected, that are still okay. So and I'll go through the second list there a little bit for the sake of time, but the prohibitions, or there are no restrictions on academic coursework or academic curriculum, right? So anything that you do in the classroom, you're good to go. There are no restrictions on research. If you want to do any type of research based on, student groups, a particular type of student group, a particular type of faculty group or employment group, that's still okay. No restrictions on data collection. You'll be glad to hear that, Marilisa, sitting in the back. We can still collect and report data as we've been doing, right? With, again, different student groups, different ethnicities, and so on. Any policy, procedure, or practice that is intended to enhance student achievement. And this is probably the most important thing, is what that's at the end of that. As long as we design and implement without regard to race, sex, color, or ethnicity. That's the big key with Senate Bill 17. It's not that we're not allowed to do some things, we just have to open it up to everybody. So if you want to have, say, a women in STEM program, it's fine as long as you do not exclude anybody from participating because they're not a female. All right, so all of the activities that are part of a registered or recognized student organization, they're good to go. And any short-term guest speaker, performer, or for student recruitment, again, with all of this, it's as long as we design and implement everything without regard to race, sex, color, or ethnicity. So I guess a big picture there is that we can continue as normal as long as we don't exclude folks from participating in anything because they're not of a particular race, color, gender, ethnicity, and so on. I see that the stopwatch on my voice is running low. So as we're kind of finishing up the presentation here, we'll continue to conduct review and employment practice, make sure that we look at our employee and student support services and any type of organizations and any unit names, anything, mission statements, position titles, all that good stuff that needs to be changed. If you have any questions, please send them to me about Senate Bill 17 or some of the prohibitions or things that you're considering doing. And usually if it's something simple that I can answer, I will. If not, I usually consult with our legal team to make sure that we're okay. But again, I know in a forum like this, it's hard to, there might be some questions, it's hard to field the questions here, but email me any questions. I'll be more than happy to get back to you this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arezola and his team for that update. This will end the program at the MFA for all LC employees. You will now begin to transition into your organizational meetings scheduled from 11 to 11:45. Lunch will be from 11:45 to 1 p.m. on your own. Thereafter, you will proceed with your respective divisional and departmental meetings from 1 to 6 p.m. Thank you again, and once again, Happy New Year, and wish you all the best for 2024.